Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of hyper-specific touch designer topics not often discussed in tutorials. You ever looked at an old project of yours and had no idea what the hell's going on in there? Fortunately, there's a solution. This one comes from a question from Perita Pixels, who does some really awesome art. You should go follow her. Go do it. I'll wait. Side note, she was also the inspiration behind the camera viewport video that I did recently. Anyway, she was asking about how to add comments and visually group operators in projects. And there are ways to do that. Surprisingly few people are aware of these features, but they're super useful. There are two types of comments, the old one and the new one. Any operator can have a comment attached to it. You may not have been aware of that, but it's true. This feature has been around in TouchDesigner for at least as long as I've been using it, and that's been kind of a long time at this point. In the parameter dialog for any operator, there's this little speech bubble icon. You can click that, and it will give you a little text field where you can type in a comment. Any operator that has a comment attached to it is going to show this little speech bubble icon in the corner. It doesn't actually show the contents of the comment, but it does at least indicate that there is one. To actually look at the comment itself, you need to middle click, and that's going to bring up the op info pop-up, and our comment is right there. I did a whole separate video, it's actually my previous video, about operator info. It gets into way more detail about the stuff that's in this pop-up and how you can use it. So go check that out if you want to learn more. I use it for situations where there's something important to note about the operator that isn't like immediately obvious just from looking at the network and what things are named. There's an operator somewhere that's referenced from a script somewhere else or something, and you want to avoid accidentally deleting it because you think it's not being used by anything, but then it actually is. That's a good situation to just like add a comment on that operator and say, this is used by whatever. And then when you look at your project later on and see this operator that seems like it's not doing anything and you go to delete it, you notice that there's a comment and you don't do that, which is helpful. So that's operator comments, but there are also network comments. I think these have been out for a couple of years now. I don't remember exactly. If you right click in an open spot in the network, you'll see an option here to add comment, and then you can go within that and choose comment. And it's going to stick this comment box into your network. And you can type whatever you want in here. It can have multi-line text, and it just sits there in the network and conveys information. You can resize them and move them around, and they will kind of go behind any operators. They're sort of like part of the background of the network. You can also right click them and open their parameters, and this will give you settings for like how big the text is, but not a ton of customization in here. Just, it's text and it has the size. You can also set the color using operator colors here. If this picker isn't open, you can hit the C key to toggle it. It'll open by default anytime you create a comment, though. These comments are awesome because they show up directly in the network. They are super obvious. You can put a bunch of details in there. You can have, full paragraphs of text and stuff. So it's a great way to add some notes to your project and indicate what's going on so that you can figure it out when you look at the project again in a couple months. Or if you're going to be handing a project off to someone else, this is a great way to add little comments in there to point things out to them. Next up are network boxes. They're similar to comments, but with slightly different features and a different look. If you right-click the network and do add comment, there's an option for network box. And it will stick one of these things into your network. Network boxes have a header with editable text, so you can put some text in there. It's only a single line of text though, so this is more just kind of like labeling stuff rather than like providing detailed commentary about it. The special thing about network boxes though is that they can contain regular operators. So if you take any operators and move them inside there, then anytime you move this network box around, all the other stuff goes with it. If you want to change whether it brings operators along when you move it, You can right click in the header, and just to note, you can't right click in like the body here because it's just going to show, the regular network menu. So you got to do the header. But if you right click the header, there's a setting for enclose operators. And if you turn that off, then, it doesn't actually move other types of operators that are sitting inside it. Network boxes are a great way to group operators that are related to each other and just give a little description of what they do. This is particularly useful in larger, more complicated networks, though often in those situations, I recommend having like smaller networks with nested components and stuff. But some people like giant networks, and sometimes that is just kind of the best approach for the situation. Network boxes are a great way to make it a lot easier to interpret what's going on in those networks because it allows you to say, like, this is rendering, this is audio, this is whatever, and makes it really easy to see what's going on. Both comments and network boxes are considered annotations. They're actually comps, but they're shown like this instead of how regular comps are shown in the network. When you right click a comment or the header of a network box and do parameters, you get this kind of simplified parameter dialog that basically just gives you the option to change the font size. If you're holding down the control key when you right click, it will give you the full menu as though it were any other type of operator that you right clicked in network. Now, if you do parameters, it's going to bring up the full thing with all the settings in it. Depending on which type of annotation it is, different parts of this are going to be enabled. If you have anything displayed in the background of your network, like if you turn on the display flag on top or something, the comments and network boxes by default are going to totally block that out. If you want to change that, you can do that control right click on either anywhere in the comment or the header of the network box, do parameters. This gets you the full parameter dialog. Then over on the settings tab here, there's a slider for the opacity of the background. So that's going to, just do the background. It's not going to actually do the text. And then there's a separate slider for the like opacity of the whole thing. There are also some more advanced features. There's actually like a third type of annotation that allow you to put entire user interfaces or even operator viewers into annotations. But the parts that most people are going to use are comments and network boxes. They're a great way to organize networks and add notes. They're a great way to describe things if you're handing a project off to another person and you want to kind of call their attention to various things. You can add little comments there. TouchDesigner projects can get complicated pretty easily, so it's always a good idea to annotate your networks. Let me know in the comments how you use annotations, or if you, like so many other people, were totally unaware of this feature. If you want to support me making more of these and you can afford it, consider subscribing to my Patreon. You'll get early tutorial access and Discord and other stuff like that. On that note, I'd like to thank all my subscribers. Your support really means a lot to me. That's what keeps me going and making more of these. So thank you. Anyway, thanks for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Bye.